Today is about camping, about my travel trips that I did this in my mini retirement this year. And these are some game changers that I found, and I wanted to share them with you and give you guys some pointers if you ever wanted to go on a road trip. We're supposed to be gone for till whenever we want. Last year, I think we went for a month and a half, almost 2 months. This year, I got poison oak over 3/4 of my body. Needless to say, we had to end the fucking trip early, so I think we only made it about 2.5 weeks. But I want to give you guys some pointers on stuff that made my life easier. I have a small camper that's only 8 feet long, and it's only about 6 feet wide. Me and my 2 daughters, and my special needs daughter, who also 11-year-old still needs diaper changes, and my 17-year-old senior citizen dog, cram in this thing, and we live in this thing for however long we can, so you can see the situation, how it's like, how can I better this next year? And I want to share the tips that I found this year, so let's get into it. Welcome to another edition of Up and Knitted. I'm your host, Agent Babashoff, and if you're new here, if you're wondering what the show is about, it's all things pertaining towards bettering your life through liberty and independence, seeking alternatives to the daily grind, moving from surviving to thriving, and living life raw. Tools. Google Maps for timeline and also for gas. You can actually find out like, hey, I'm going to travel all the way to this area. For us, it was about 680 miles away from home. We went up the northern coast, and I can figure out in my budget how much is it going to cost me to go there, and if I wanted to boomerang or zigzag back to some other place or go off, I can kind of figure out, okay, this is what it's going to cost, and is that going to dip into food? So Google Maps definitely helps with budgeting, but it also helps with your time. In the summers when I take off for my road trips and going north through the San Joaquin and all that, Sacramento it's like 100+ degrees. There's no camping out there. I don't have AC is the one thing I don't have on my camper, and I don't know if I'm going to get it. But I strategically use Google Maps to figure out that, hey, if we drive about, 350 miles I drive like a street sweeper. The street sweeper's like, get the fuck out of the fucking road, asshole. You know, that's how slow I drive. So at 55, 60, 65, I'm like, I'm white knuckling it. But no, I have my kids, and I like to play it safe, and I like to take it slow and easy. This is how I find out how many stops I need to make. And I figured out that all I have to do is get 2 hotel rooms. Usually they're around 100 to maybe 110 bucks a night for a decent place. That's even like Motel 6, guys. Motel 6. That's gonna help you plan your travel. So ours usually is about 5.5 to 6.5 hours drive. Everybody gets a little edgy, and it's a perfect time to pull over, go for a swim, and take a nap. There's apps like I found out through some people on the road. One's called Overlander. I don't have any affiliates with any products ever on any of my shows so far. If I do, I'm supposed to tell you, I think, but I don't have any sponsors. I have nothing. I'm sponsored by Snoopy Band-Aids, Keystone Light Beer, and Salty fucking Tears and duct tape. So yeah, Overlander is an app that you can actually find free places to camp. And it'll actually, I guess what's happening is a lot of the van dwellers and drivers, travelers will take pictures, and they'll actually tell you what the spot's about, what it looks like, And so it's a pretty cool app. You can find places off. Another story I heard, which I verified was true, from a fellow traveler, was that in any national park in the United States, it has to be a national park. If you drive 100 yards off the highway, legally, the police, the park rangers, nobody could do anything. It's your right. You can camp on the side of the road. So that's kind of a cool thing to know, and I thought I'd let you guys know that tip. This is a bummer, guys. I was supposed to be showing off to you guys all year. It took me like a month to get out of this poison oak thing, man. It was horrendous, but so cool, the people I met this year for safety. And I recommend this to anybody because no matter what, if there was an earthquake or just something bad happening, something could happen at any moment, man. And especially when you're a single dad and you got 2 kids and your pup with you, and there ain't no cell reception, it's a pretty fucking scary thing, man. Last year I was like, oh, you're just overthinking this and you're being paranoid. And I said to myself this year, you know what? And I'm letting my daughter go run up mountains and shit where I can't even see her. I figured getting this InReach Mini, again, this is not an affiliate, I have no attachments. But what this is, the device is about $400, I think, dollars, and you can get a month-to-month subscription, unlike the phones that you have to rent or buy, the InReach, or not the InReach, but I forget what it was called. But they have these satellite phones, basically, that you can call from Antarctica. Well, the InReach Mini has the same thing. You can send a text from Antarctica, and you can receive text on a month-to-month basis. You can't make phone calls, whereas the the satellite phones, you have to get like a year plan, or it's ridiculous. Like, I think for me, for a month and a half was like close to $800, and they charge you per minute. You get only so many, like 10 minutes, I think, of talk time. So the InReach Mini was definitely a game changer. Just in case of emergency, I tucked that thing in my daughter's backpack in case she didn't get home in time. And that way she knew how to use it. There's an SOS button you can just push and help will come. So definitely something to consider on there. Tent Decoy is my next one. So when you're camping and where you go, like where I go is way out in the boonies, and there's other people around and everything, but I think I've had it happen a couple times where people have come and taken my firewood because they didn't think that someone was there. You know, if you leave your stove and your table, a gallon of water, and some people are just dumb enough to go, ooh, somebody forgot it and took it. So one of the things I found was good is to set up a decoy of a tent. And yes, you still have the chance of theft, but if you want to go romping around and drive away from your place, and like for instance where we went, there was the beach, and then there's the redwoods, and then the alderwood forest, and a river and streams. There's multiple places, like Peter Pan's Island almost. You had to drive to some of them because they were pretty far. So the tent decoy, buy yourself a cheap tent, put it in there. I think also for security reasons, if you were ever camping, like out of your car or anything, or just even if you had a trailer, if there was a perpetrator, again, I'm not being paranoid, but the shit could happen, you know. When you have the tent, I think it's a decoy because they would think that someone's sleeping in that tent. And I think that kind of gives you a chance. If someone would wanted to fuck with you, they would start unzipping the tent or messing around with it, flashing their lights around, and that kind of gives you a chance to pull your piece and pop a cap, motherfucker. I don't know. It works good as a decoy, I think, in many ways. Walkie-talkies were definitely awesome. I got some mid-range. I think they were like 80 bucks. I got them for business for my employees a couple years back, where they were, would be on a large job, and that way we could stay in touch. But it definitely helped with my daughter. And some of these walkie-talkies have a pretty long range, and it's just a really nice thing to have to stay in touch. Talking to locals, as I said, I learned so much. This year it was net fishing, and it was pretty neat. The last year before, I met an Indian guy who he was telling me, you net fish these little fish, and you don't even take the guts out. You just fry them on both sides for like 5 minutes. You put a bunch of oil, and the whole fish, the head and all, and then you just pull the meat. I guess you could pull the meat off one side. It just comes off like a fillet. You eat that, the skin and all. You pull off the other one, the other side, and you discard it. Well, the Indians, I guess, they'll this guy was saying that you just fry them. They'll eat them head to toe, just bones and all. And because they're so small, I guess you don't choke on the bones. They're like a sardine of some sort, I think. I'm not sure. I saw one. It was silver with like big black stripe going through the top of it. But I asked him, did you eat it? He goes, my favorite part is the fins because they're like potato chips. I'm like, whoa. But yeah, and I learned how to net fish. I didn't actually do it myself. I was instructed how to, and I was watching guys. And the other thing I learned is that you can actually catch surf perch. And up north, guys, there's surf perch that are like 5-6 pounds, man. They're huge. I never knew they got that big. But you can catch them off just basic shrimp, just raw shrimp. That's it. Best bait you can get. So cool talking to natives. I also got invited to a bear dance last year. My special needs daughter still talks about it all the time, and it was very awesome. There was a dad who had a bear suit on himself with the skull still attached, and he had his little kid who had a baby bear one, and we got invited to the ceremony by me talking to the fishermen, the Indians. They thought I was cool, and I thought they were cool, and they invited me out, and it was a blessing. The chief came and grabbed me and my daughters and yelled and screamed and did this crazy shit, and it was representative of throwing our problems into the fire and letting them go away. And he blessed us, and it was magical. Next is private spaces, and I think the tent, as I was saying earlier, when you got kids, with me it's a special needs, and my other child, which I'll call a glass child, you can look that up yourself. It's very difficult to have a special needs family, and we need spaces to be alone. But I think even you regular people, not you weirdos like us, you freaks. It's nice to go read a book and have some spaces. So to create that when you're camping, that tent, the decoy, I think if you just laid a mattress in there and a place where you can kind of take a nap to get away from everything's nice. My camper has a giant steel roof. It's a big platform, so you could actually climb up on top and you could sit up there and have a greater view and actually kind of get away from things. So space, especially when you're living in a small 8 by 6 foot camper, definitely helps. Kiddie pool was another one, and I think this is great for adults, man, not just the kids. But I've got a DC powered air pump, and it comes with little plastic fittings, and I got a pretty decent size, I'd say like a 6 foot in diameter, a kiddie pool, and that goes up about a foot. And I filled this thing up. You can dump ocean water in it, especially up north where it's cold. Anywhere where it's cold, get some lake water or river water, pour it in there. It starts to get slimy after about 3 days, so you might want to dump it out so you don't have to sit there and wipe all the walls and everything. But let it sit there for an entire day, and that thing will heat up and will be tolerable to actually lay. Instead of, I don't know about you guys, but that cold ass water, my nerves, I think I'm just too old or something, but it just kills me. But definitely a babysitter. It's refreshing for even us adults, sitting there, crack open a beer, look at the mountains, you know, the ocean. So kiddie pool definitely was a game changer. Jumper power pack, definitely. I bought one this year. It was after the trip because I was so worried about my truck batteries dying from the kids closing the door, opening the lights at nighttime and forgetting to shut them off. So I bought this power pack, and this power pack does many things. It's mostly for work though. If on my job sites, sometimes I leave early in the morning and when it's dark and I forget to shut my lights off, and I've had my battery die multiple times. So it's mainly for work, but also for traveling. Get the kind that I got. I don't want to be an affiliate here, and like I said, I'm not sponsored by anybody, but get something that's got a light on it, so when you're camping you have a light. And get something like mine that not only will jump your car, but also will charge your cell phones, tablets, cameras, and things like that. They have multiple uses. And those things, I think, with the light was just really awesome. Shade and keeping dry, I want to get a batwing awning on my camper. I think if you have some sort of, if you don't have an awning, I think you should definitely get one, because even in the summertime, by the ocean, everything gets wet in the morning. Everything gets soaking wet. And then it gets hot, and you need a place to get out of the sun. And then I had a makeshift awning that I tried to do. You can see it actually in my Instagram videos. It's a tarp with some electrical conduit pipe and some ropes, and pain in the ass. But yeah, you definitely need shelter from the elements. Hand sanitizer has been an awesome one. I'm not a firm supporter of things like that because it kills all the bacteria. I think it's like, it's rubbing alcohol or something in this gel, but you put it on and it feels just like rubbing alcohol to me. But when you have to change shit diapers like I do with an 11-year-old, and sometimes every once in a while it gets on your fingers, or, you know, hand sanitizer has been a game changer, especially when you're camping and you need something very quickly. You know, you got your cooking or something. It's always, you need to take a piss. Hand sanitizer, game changer. Just get it. It's simple. It's easy. I only use it when I'm camping, not when I'm at home. A water storage tank. Again, where we go, it's in the middle of nowhere, and I built 4-inch ABS pipe, did it in a circle. It's about 10 feet long, that goes on the roof rack thing I was telling you guys about. It's got an inlet, which also works as a carburetor when you open it up to let the air in, so that the outlet, where I put a water faucet spigot, you open that in, it relieves the pressure and lets the water come out. I'm holding, I think, just under 18 gallons. That was a huge game changer. The water actually heats up because the ABS pipe is black. More water, the better. That was definitely a game changer this year. Carpet for my dog. If you guys are staying in hotels, the back of my truck has a plywood floor. The hotels have wood floors or linoleum, and your dog sounds like a fucking creature just with those nails while you're trying to fucking sleep, just constantly. So yeah, lay down, get yourself a big piece of carpet. I bought a cheap one for about, I think it was $10. It was just a scrap piece, and I laid that all out in the back of my truck, cut off a piece for my dog, and then also had a big, giant, about a 10 by 8 foot piece, which I laid in the hotel floor, put her bed on top, and that way it keeps her from sliding around and limiting the nails on the floor, so you can actually get some rest. Body wash was a big game changer too. I keep it in my truck now. Every time I change a diaper for my special needs, I spray her all down with it, and that keeps her all nice and clean. It basically consists of, let me look at my notes here. Water, of course, a large part water, tea tree oil. Don't put too much. And I'll explain in a second. Lavender oil, it's antibacterial, it also makes you relaxed. Aloe vera gel, and that's it. And you mix these all components up. I'll look at my notes to find out what the ratios were. Maybe I'll put that on Instagram or something, so you guys are gonna have to go there to see it. But that stuff worked good. So you spray it on the nether regions, and if you put too much tea tree oil, you're in for a roller coaster ride, man. That stuff just you'll start howling at the moon. So make sure you go easy. Try it on some soft parts like your nuts before you go and, you know, putting it, as I said too with my daughter, I spray it over her diaper area. So test it first, find out what the good ratios are. I'll share with you guys what I had, but this was really nice to stay clean. You can't really go swimming a lot when it's freezing. And this is just good to spray around your neck every night, clean your face, your armpits, your feet, you know, any area you want to clean up. And it just keeps a little bit of hygiene and feels good and smells good. And like I said, I use it now for my diaper wash. Downer on this trip was my solar fucking fridge, you guys. I bought this thing years ago because I used to travel a lot in my business when I still had the wifey. We were still together and she was watching my kids. And I would be gone for weeks and we'd be bouncing around from like Santa Barbara to Lancaster, the desert, and like, you know, we'd be driving 150 miles away at any given day. And I would have to nap in my truck, or at some points even I'd had to sleep in it, just a handful of times. But I got the fridge to have food and cold water and everything in it. And it works wonderful for my business even today. When you're working and it gets on a warm day, you can keep some cold food in there. It saves time for lunches and everything. I just pack up stuff for the week and I don't even have to fucking think about it. I just go to work when it's lunchtime or, you know, snack time. I can just open up the DC fridge and grab my shit. So the problem is I went from a propane DC to AC electric fridge, they all in one in the campers. And I said, well, I'm going to run everything off solar, and it's been fantastic until you go camping in the mountains underneath the trees. I didn't even think of that. And it limits you now. So if I had my old 4-wheel camper, which had all the stuff for it, that I could have switched from battery to propane, and you can pretty much go anywhere. And I think that was the downfall. So there it is. Hey, if you guys like this sort of thing, check me out on Facebook. There's a private group. Ask to join, and I'll let you in. There's Up and In It, where I post every single day to kind of give you guys an idea what a mini retirement and an alternative lifestyle looks like. Check me out on the Apple iTunes and also on Spotify, YouTube, of course. Just Up and In It is at everything. You guys don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire. Human up. Live it, love it, own it, and bone it.